Welcome back to another episode of the Hammer Fist Podcast. You're here with Tom Owens and the guys you can't see in the background. We got Archie Tovar and Xavier Ortega. Today I got a special guest with me. I want you guys to welcome Mason Fowler to the show. A lot of you locals already know Mason from his accomplishments in MMA, not only amateur-wise but professional-wise. And mainly what I really enjoy about you and made me follow you was your grappling experience, man, the Jiu-Jitsu tournaments, and then you competed in Abu Dhabi as well. We'll talk about that. Guys, real quick, before we start the show, I want to give just a quick shout out to our sponsors. We're still taking sponsors, guys, but it's growing quick. So the sponsors that I'm shouting out today, we got Black Living Water, guys, the probiotic water. Many of you guys already know about it. It's going big. It's good stuff for your gut. It's good to get the system going. We got Legends Tap House and Grill, guys, right there in Selma. If you want to get a real good steak or maybe some tri-tip, want to bring your lady out to a little date, get a nice cold drink, and just enjoy yourself, that's a pretty good spot to go to. We like it a lot. La Enchilada in Fresno is got you covered if you want some good Mexican food, guys. Bomb chips and salsa, tacos, burritos, chilaquiles, the whole 9 yards. CBD, guys, we're in the business of CBD. It's growing. It's a growing art right now, and we got Gentle Art CBD, and now you'll be able to get that right off our website, guys, at MMAFightPass.com. And a lot of the local fighters in our local jiu-jitsu community, they're taking on to the CBD because, man, it does work wonders. It's great for anxiety. It's great for pain relief. It can help you sleep a little bit at night. There's all kinds of good benefits to this stuff, guys. So, Gentle Art CBD. Another one of our new sponsors, guys, Rio Acai in Fresno, guys. And they're located downtown Fresno on Fulton Street. There's a lot of acai out there in the market, but not everybody's doing it right. These guys got the real thing, acai bowls. They got acai smoothies and a host of other things that are really good there. So as far as sponsors go, get a hold of us, guys, and we're going to keep the sponsor thing going, and we're going to get this podcast going. So Mason, how are you doing today, bro?
I can vouch for real acai too. I've had a couple of their bowls before.
How is it? Tell me about it. Pretty bomb?
It's legit, yeah. It's good stuff.
I've heard nothing but good.
So they're right up there.
Nice. I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. Mason, I know you. I followed you from your early amateur MMA career up until when I first saw you fight in the I believe it was the Warriors Cage up in Porterville. Was that your first MMA fight?
That was my first pro fight.
That was your first pro fight, but before that, you had already had how many amateur fights?
I did 6 amateur fights.
And were those all local?
The first one was 559 Fights, which is still out there doing big things. They've grown a lot. And the second one was here in Fresno, and the third one was 559 Fights again. And then the fourth one was actually in Vegas. I got the chance to go fight out there. That was a really cool experience. And then the fifth one was part of that amateur. They did like a national tournament. So at the last minute, I kind of got put onto a team as like a late replacement. That was an event that was run by Jason Weiner, and I won that one, and that was the semi. Flew me out to New York, and I did my last amateur fight out in New York.
Wow, man, that's really something else, getting the traveling in like that. Most guys only get their amateur career here. To go back before. I heard a lot about you in the amateur fights, and then later on, when I first saw you fight, it was up in Warriors Cage. I believe it was your first pro fight, like we just talked about, and you fought a guy named Mike Ryan, and right off the bat, like I saw you, I believe that submission you got him in a Bravo choke or a Darce?
Yeah, it was a Bravo choke.
A Bravo choke, yeah, and man, we were just like, man, this kid right here, if he continues to do what he's going to do, he's probably going to make it some way. And then later on, as I learned a little more about you, it seemed like you have a real strong focus in jiu-jitsu and Gilas jiu-jitsu, because didn't you fight in the Abu Dhabi, which is a Gilas?
Yeah. I've always kind of specialized more in the nogi. I started with just nogi with Mike Moreno. He was actually my first coach, And when I first walked into the gym, I asked them if I trained here, could I fight in the UFC? You know, that was always my goal. So I was training for MMA first. So that's why I always, even now, am a little bit better no-gi.
Now, so when you first started with Mike Moreno, props to Mike. Mike's a good friend of the show. I got a ton of respect for Mike from his WEC days and what he's grown to do. Mike, like we have a ton of respect for Mike. Did you always train right there with Mike? And was it at Dethrone in Fresno?
No, I actually started at a smaller gym called Thrive MMA that isn't around anymore. And I was training with like some of the OG MMA guys in the Valley. We had Mike, Isaac De Jesus was my other like head coach. We had Ralph there, Ralph Alvarado. Rudy Cruz was in there doing the boxing. Brian Williams was in there near the end, who's a pretty renowned boxing coach in Fresno. Yeah, we had a lot of good guys. We had LeVar in there. We had Brandon Cash in there.
Man, you had all the OGs.
All the OGs. Christopher Arias, who runs the Madera martial arts. He was in there. We used to train together when we were white belts. So yeah, it's crazy to see kind of where everyone's ended up. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing now, you know?
Yeah, and most of you guys, like, man, all those guys you just mentioned right there, those guys have some serious roots that probably a lot of the young kids that are coming up in the sport right now probably will, you know, before you know it, those names will be forgotten. And people, except for guys like you and some of us older guys will remember those guys. Man, that's really something, dude. That was really an experience probably going up with those guys. When you were younger, like let's go back to your childhood a little bit because a lot of us know about you, but then we also have a lot of viewers that are just coming into the sport and they're new to the whole thing. And with every MMA fighter that I ever meet, especially guys that have done a lot of jiu-jitsu but for me, the MMA, a lot of these things go way back to your childhood. What was your first martial art that you got into, or the first things that got you into fighting? Was it like a family? Was it a father figure, an uncle, or was it something you saw on TV?
My dad wrestled collegiately. He was a JUCO, but growing up, I never did any kind of combat sports, really. I tried wrestling when I was in, like, 4th grade, and I actually did one wrestling tournament when I was in 4th grade, but I had only been practicing for maybe a month, and I just got smashed, and I cried, and my parents let me quit. So, man, I regret. That's one of those moments that I kind of regret, but everything happens for a reason. You know, maybe if I was wrestling all throughout high school, maybe I would have been burnt out, and I wouldn't have pursued an MMA career afterwards. So right now I'm 27, but a lot of guys my age are burnt out already, and they end up wanting to do something else with their life. And I'm still fully dedicated and fully passionate about the sport. So yeah, all throughout high school, I didn't really play any sports, or I wasn't an athlete until my senior year, and I started playing rugby, and that whipped me into shape real quick. And I played rugby for a year and a half, 2 years. I really actually started playing rugby because I wanted to do MMA, but I wanted to kind of like get in shape first. But I ended up falling in love with the sport and playing for 2 years. And then when that ended, that's when I was sitting around doing nothing, and then it kind of came to me like, damn, let's go do this MMA thing now. So when you were younger, like, a lot of guys did like Taekwondo or karate or some of these things that maybe a traditional martial arts school. Was wrestling then? Was that your first go at an actual system? Yeah, I actually did too. Like, I had forgotten this, but my stepdad, when I was younger, would go to Morse Karate. And I just remembered it because my friend Isaac Morales just kind of affiliated with the Morse Karate in Fresno, and now they're kind of rebranding it as Elite Team Fresno. And when that happened, it kind of reminded me, I hadn't even thought about it. I used to do the karate classes at Morse Karate when I was a kid too. But same thing, I was a really unathletic kid, and I was really lazy, and I liked to play video games. And I'm pretty sure I just like would cry to my mom that I didn't want to go, and she just kind of let me stop going.
Which happens a lot. That happens a lot. But like you said, everything is meant for a reason. You know what I mean? If you'd have kept doing one of those things, maybe you wouldn't be doing what you're doing today. That's funny you mentioned Moore's Karate. There was a Moore's Karate here in Visalia too. And I remember back in those days, it was like there are Jiu-Jitsu schools now. It seemed like there was a Taekwondo school on every corner, or the Moore's Karate was real big. I remember Al Moore was one of the main guys that had all those going. So that's cool, man. At what point, so you decide that you want to go into MMA, and I mean, that's a decision that very few people on this earth will ever make, that they decide they're going to, especially at your age, because you said you're 27. How old were you when you decided that you wanted to do that?
I think I'm pretty sure when I signed up to start training, I was 18, but it was like right before I turned 19, because I remember I had my first fight when I was 19.
Damn, 18 years old. That's freaking nuts, dude. I would think I was like 28 years old when I decided I wanted to give that a shot. So you decide you're going to – what I was going to ask you is, in competition, because I know you've competed a lot in jiu-jitsu, submission grappling, and MMA, what was the first competition besides wrestling that you did? Was it Brazilian jiu-jitsu tournament or submission grappling, or was it an MMA match?
I did one Grappling X tournament when I was a white belt, and then I think the next thing I did was the MMA fight through 559 fights.
Man, what a trip, dude! And you're 27 now, and from what the research I've done on you, you have 6 fights, all in all, 4 amateur and 2 professional.
6 amateur and 2 pro. So
okay.
8 total.
You have 8 total fights, and you're undefeated in that. Are you planning on fighting in MMA again, or what?
MMA really is my passion, and I'm a huge diehard fan of the UFC. And it was hard to make the decision to solely focus on jiu-jitsu. And I've thought about it in my head a lot, like maybe if it was the right opponent or the right venue, if the money was right. Especially now that I'm getting a little bit more notoriety through jiu-jitsu, I feel like I might have a chance to get kind of a money fight, like maybe a Dylan Dennis, or maybe fight like another jiu-jitsu guy in MMA, maybe get like whoever Gordon Ryan's talked about. Maybe, but at this point, I don't think it's realistic to sit here and say that I plan on becoming a full-time MMA fighter again and trying to get into the UFC. There's just too much. I'm at the point now where it's too far away.
Yeah, I understand that, the aspect of coming from there. Guys, one of the reasons we brought Mason on, I mean, I'm fast. I could sit here and talk with you all day about like your jiu-jitsu background and where you came from. Before we move on to the tournament, because I really want to talk about your tournament you got coming up. And man, I know that I've thrown a couple tournaments myself. That can be super stressful, and there's a lot of planning that goes on. But you seem like the type of person with the hard. You have the right kind of work ethic that could do one of these tournaments. But before that, who was the first guy? I like to ask everybody this when that comes on the show. Who was the first one that you saw, whether it was on TV, a pay-per-view, or maybe in person, the first Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy or maybe a judoka that caught your eye, that made you say, I want to do that? Who was the first guy that really set it in stone with you?
Honestly, even when I started competing full-time in jiu-jitsu, I didn't really follow it. Like, I didn't know any of the famous guys, really. I wasn't really a fan of jiu-jitsu until I started, like, competing in jiu-jitsu, and then I started kind of catching on to the big names. But I would say maybe in MMA, maybe like Damian Maia, or even Anderson Silva. Like, I remember when I was like 15 years old watching Anderson fight Dan Henderson, and he locked him up with the body triangle and threw in the rear naked choke, and that was like one of my first exposures to jiu-jitsu.
Okay, that's a little. So, did you ever go back and like watch like the old Hoist Gracie? Of course, I'm sure you did, like the old Hoist Gracie matches, and maybe some of the old Half Gracie, like when he was in extreme fighting and things like that.
I I've never seen Half, but I definitely have went back and watched like the old school UFCs. But I think UFC 1 was in 1993, I think, and like that's the year I was born. So I wasn't like by the time I was like 14, 15 when I started watching the sport, it had already evolved, and Anderson was the champ at that time. So I was watching like Anderson Silva, Chris Lieben, guys like that. That was like my era when I first started watching.
And man, bro, you're 27 years old, dude. You realize the stuff you can still do? Dang, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I gotta just my thing right now is just trying to stay healthy and get as much as I can while I still have youth on my side, because really 27 sounds young, but man, these young kids coming up that are 18, 19, that's the future of jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
So.
And it is a trip with these young kids. I'm sure you travel. I know you've traveled around and trained at the different schools locally, and you get a roll with a lot of these young bucks. How has jiu-jitsu? I know from when I started, I mean, it was the basic Gracie jiu-jitsu was what most schools were doing, and then to now, it's a complete different thing. Since you started the jiu-jitsu and the time that you've been doing it, what do you feel is the biggest thing that's changed with it? Like. And I don't mean just the sport jiu-jitsu aspect. I mean the whole total package, because a lot of things have changed. What's the biggest evolution that you've seen happen with jiu-jitsu?
So now sport jiu-jitsu is just what you said. It's sport jiu-jitsu, and a lot of the old heads are complaining that it's not real self-defense and this and that, but it's a sport now. It's its own thing. So you can't take someone that plays like spider guard, lapel guard, De La Riva guard, and put them in an MMA fight and expect them to just be successful overnight. It's a completely different sport. That doesn't mean it's bad. That's just the direction the sport has evolved.
It has evolved crazy, man. I trip out on it. Well, bro, it's awesome to see what you're doing. I know you probably got a lot more competition goals coming up. But guys, one of the big reasons that we wanted to talk to you and bring you onto the show today is because competition jiu-jitsu is growing tremendously here in the Valley. And I feel like the Central Valley in California, the Central Valley, man, we're really starting to get on the map with all of our jiu-jitsu schools and the different tournaments that are happening. Besides competing and doing all this competition and hard training, you are the founder of Central Valley Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. Am I saying that right? Is that the name of the organization?
Yeah, Central Valley Jiu-Jitsu, or CVJJ.
Now, this tournament that you have coming up, that's on April 5th. Is this the first one, or have you've done this before?
Yeah, I'm back. I think
we had a little bad connection right there. Probably my Wi-Fi in this end. Is this the first tournament that you've thrown, Mason, or is this or have you done a few of these?
Yeah, so we did a tournament before, and when we were planning it, was kind of before it was before Fight to Win had ever came to Fresno, and they've gotten a lot more popular now. Fight to Win is like a household name in jiu-jitsu, but when we first were planning our tournament, they kind of weren't really on our radar as much. We weren't as aware of them. And we were brainstorming names, and we came up with the name Fight to Finish, F2F. And literally, we made the flyers, and we did all the branding and everything. And then my partner sent me a video of, like, Fight to Win. And he was like, hey, this is another tournament. Like, the names are really similar. And so we had kind of decided that we had went kind of too far to change it at that point, because we had already started marketing it. So we decided to go through with it, and then we were going to kind of rebrand it and come with a new name. So we want to be original. We don't want to, like, bite off everyone else's style. And I felt like if we would have kept it with the same name, it was so similar, it would have just been, like, kind of cheesy.
Yeah, I think it's good what you did with going with a little bit different route of it, definitely. Now, these tournaments, this is a gi tournament, correct?
Yeah, and we have a lot of people asking about no-gi, and I do love no-gi, and it's a passion of mine. So eventually, it would be nice to do a gi and no-gi division. But just for now, we're still getting experience. This is only the second tournament we've done. We just brought on Archie as a third partner, and we wanna just dial things in before we start adding more. You know, so we're we're humble guys. It's our second tournament. There's gonna be a learning curve, and we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna learn from it, and it's gonna continue to get better. So yeah, we're gonna just stick with the gi. We want to keep it simple for now, and then I definitely do want to add that the no gi afterwards, because it's just a chance for people to get more matches.
Definitely. And man, like you said, all this stuff is in experience, and the way we learn with these experiences, especially if you're going to do something like this, there's going to be mistakes and you're going to learn from them. There's, you know, that's just the bottom line. It's even with us doing this podcast, we've been at it for, you know, not too long. We're learning new stuff every time. You know what I mean? We're making mistakes with each one, and we're learning new things. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what I like about this tournament that you're doing though is double elimination, and for a lot of, I know I got my students, and there's a lot now. I think a guy like you, enough people in the jiu-jitsu community know about you that you're legit, that they're gonna feel comfortable sending their students to your tournament. And guys, it's double elimination, and you don't always get that at tournaments. And one thing about the double elimination and these tournaments in general, especially if you're a white belt, it doesn't really matter what belt you are. It's all about experience, man, and you're going to get a tremendous experience whether you lose or whether you win at these tournaments. And to me, I say it a lot, and you guys might think I'm weird, but some of the best experiences that I've ever got, Mason, were when I did lose matches. You know what I mean? And have to go back to the gym and work on those things. The winning is awesome too.
Yeah, but
talk about double elimination a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's nothing worse than doing like the Worlds or the Pan Ams, and you don't have a lot of experience, and you have to drive all the way to LA. You have to get a hotel room. You pay food, gas. It's $120, $130 to compete, and then you lose in the first round, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm gonna go home now. Like, it's a lot of time and energy and money to have one match. So that's why we wanted to keep the price low. We're bringing a cheap local tournament for you to get experience. Our goal is not to compete with the IBJJF and become like a new Worlds. Our goal is to, you know, get some experience, get comfortable competing, not break the bank, and then hopefully be able to go to the Worlds, the Nogi Worlds, the Pan Ams, and have a better performance and be comfortable and have a better experience. And hopefully, what I want to see is in 5 years to have more local jiu-jitsu competitors getting on the podiums at these big tournaments.
Man, dude, and that seems to be happening quite a bit lately. I've been I'm super proud. I don't even get a chance to train with most of these schools around here, but just like I know most of the coaches, and man, it makes me really proud just to be from the Valley, to see from when I started doing jiu-jitsu way back in the day to how many schools there are now. There's like literally, there's a lot of them, and there's a lot of really legit ones too. So what the Central Valley is doing is awesome. The registration, it's pre-registration, guys. It's only $40. If you go to these big tournaments and you're traveling around, like you guys already know if you're competing, there's a price for everything, and it does get expensive. $40 is great. How long do people have for the $40 registration?
I believe we still have 2 or 3 more weeks on that. We're not going to raise the price until the last week. Like I said, our goal is just to get as many people registered as possible, so that way everyone gets matches and we can do fair matchups. I'd rather have 8 people in each bracket and you know, make less money than have 2 people in each bracket and everyone comes and only gets one match. You know, my goal is for everyone to show up to have a good experience. I've been a competitor before, and I'm still currently a competitor, and so my focus is more geared. I still have the competitor mindset. I'm not in the promoter mindset of who cares how everyone else is feeling. I want to make money. My goal is for all of the competitors to have a good experience. That's my number one goal.
That's a good goal to have, because a lot of promoters that are out there have never even competed. So that's a very good, it's a good goal to have. So guys out there, the website you can go to, www.cvjj.org, guys. That's the website you can get more info. And of course, I'm sure Mason will be throughout the rest of this time. And we will as well. We'll be posting and updating this tournament coming up. I highly recommend it, man. I got students out there that are always asking me, when should I compete? When do I jump in? And when do I try it? Perfect opportunity right here. You lose your first match, you get another match for sure, double elimination. So yeah, that's great. Is there anything else about your tournament that you would like to let people know about?
No, I just want to give a shout out to my two partners behind the scenes, Archie and Amar, because they're the real driving force behind the tournament. Without them, there would be nothing, because I'm over here in San Jose, and training is my main focus. And those two guys are really the workforce behind the tournament. So shout out to those two guys, and we're going to do our best to bring a new tournament to the Valley, and hopefully as time goes on, it's going to keep getting better and better, and we can keep growing it from here.
Oh, dude, it's going to be legit, man. I know it's going to be legit. And if you're talking about our Archie, right?
Yeah.
Hey, and the other gentleman too. Those are both very hardworking guys. But I know Archie personally, and Archie, if he's going to get in on something, he's going to go 110%. So I got a lot of faith that your tournament is going to be great. All you guys out there, man, all the schools out there, we got all these schools. I don't have to name all the names. There's too many to name. Let's help Mason out. Let's get this tournament to be big. Keep growing Central Valley Jiu-Jitsu, man. It's growing. I say it all the time, but it's just growing tremendously. There's a school on every corner, and not a bunch of crappy schools. We got a bunch of legit schools here in the Valley. It's impressive, man. It's very, very impressive. A lot of them you don't hear about, but trust me, go take a little trip around and do some jiu-jitsu in the Central Valley. I guarantee you're going to find something you like. We didn't talk about, I always see you with a certain gentleman in your corner. I don't know him personally. Who is your main jiu-jitsu coach that you train with?
Kyle Terra. He was just here. I wonder if he's still here. I wanted to get him on the
What is his
podcast.
name?
He might have left. His name's Kyle Terra.
Oh, Kyle Terra is your coach?
Yeah.
Okay. Very legit individual right there. And
yeah.
You're saying you're not in Fresno right now?
No, I'm living over here in San Jose.
So you're living in San Jose, and what gym is it? It's Dethrone over there as well?
No, it's Kyle Terra's gym. CTA,
Kyle Terra is sick. Man, how old is that guy now? When I was like a white and blue belt, he was competing.
Yeah, he's like, I think he's 33, but man, he looks like he's 18.
And he's a super cool cat right there. He's a smaller guy, and he's very legit, highly technical individual right there.
Yeah, if you saw me train with him, man, it's a disgrace. He murders me, and he's half my size.
I'll bet that's a lot of fun, though, man. Training with a guy like that.
Yeah, it was fun.
Hey, and everybody knew you as a grappler because, like, in all of your most of your amateur fights, like you put a big grappling scene on, and then of course your first pro fight with that Bravo choke. But your second pro fight, did you just decide in that fight to use more striking or what? Because you won that fight with a TKO.
Yeah, I honestly the one regret I do have with MMA is I feel like I never got to really show all the skills that I worked on, because I grinded just as hard with the striking as I did with the grappling. So I personally feel my striking was at a pretty decent level, and both of my pro fights were actually last minute replacements. My scheduled opponents dropped out, so they were both really quick fights. I never got to have like that 3-round war where I got to showcase all my skills. So that's one regret that I do have, is I feel like I put a lot of work in the gym, especially on the striking, and I never really got to show it off. Everyone still kind of thinks I'm just like the jiu-jitsu guy.
Man, at your age, you could jump in either way and go either way you want. I personally, I hope that maybe later on down the road that you make the choice to do another MMA fight. I'm sure not just myself, but other people. But it's all up to you with what you do, my brother. As far as sponsors go, Mason, is there any sponsors out there that you want to give some credit to or some thanks to?
Yeah, my gi sponsor, Moya brand. They're always number one. Kyle, yeah. 1 second. Can you come here real quick? 1 second.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I tried to get Kyle on, but he's working right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, tell him that I hey, when I was a white belt competing, and I remember way back in the day when you would have to go down south to a tournament if you wanted to get some action in on a tournament. But Kyle Terra was competing. He was already a black belt at that time, but he was competing at a pretty early age. And I just remember that we always really enjoyed watching him. Very technical guy, and he seemed like a real a supreme gentleman on and off the mat with his opponents and just with the general people. But yeah, man. Is there any?
My shout outs, I got to give one. Moy
Yes.
Brand, my key sponsor, and then my other sponsor down here. If anyone's down here in San Jose, Hawaiian Pokeball. It's the best poke down here. So, and they have acai too.
There you have it, guys. Hawaiian poke and acai. Hey, you're down there in San Jose, but were you born and raised here in Fresno or what?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Fresno. So anytime I'm in Fresno, I'll be there at Rio Bulls.
All right, that's a spot right there, guys. Guys, we appreciate you tuning in. Hey, man, I really appreciate you taking the time for us, Mason. I know you're busy. And any questions that you may have about throwing the tournament or any help that you may need, you know that we're going to be here for you. Archie and myself and the other guys from MMA Fight Pass. So, and if not, we'll be there covering the tournament, of course, guys. Guys, don't miss out. Once again, April 5th, 2020. It's going to be at the Fresno City College. Am I correct?
Yeah, Fresno City College, yep.
It's a beautiful place to compete, guys. There's going to be schools from all over the valley. Don't miss out if you guys want that chance to get some good competition, a good little bit of experience, and help the valley grow with our jiu-jitsu scene. This is a good one to go to. Mason, I want to thank you once again. Thank you and everything that you've done in MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and the Abu Dhabi. Hey, one thing real quick, because we didn't talk about too much. A lot of the locals, you guys do know about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the competition with the gi. Talk about the Abu Dhabi real quick for me, please. Give the people that don't understand exactly what that is. Tell us about the Abu Dhabi and the experience that you had.
Yeah, so ADCC is well known. It's probably the most prestigious, the Olympics of Jiu-Jitsu.
I think your volume's a little messed up, brother.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. Okay. So that Abu Dhabi, guys, for you don't know, tell us about the Abu Dhabi.
Yeah, it's known kind of like as the Olympics of Jiu-Jitsu because they only do it every other year, and they hold trials in a bunch of different countries. So you have to win a trial, or like returning champions or well-known like world champions will get invited. So I ended up winning the American trials, and I got a chance to compete. And I made it to the second round. I had like an okay performance. Of course, I wanted to win, but either way, of course, it's a great experience being able to compete literally at the highest level of any sport. So as far as Jiu-Jitsu is concerned, the IBJJF Worlds and ADCC are the two most prestigious tournaments, and it's the highest level that you can compete at in our sports. So just getting the opportunity to compete against some of the best.
It's okay.
That type of thing. Hopefully I'll be able to do it again. But it's one thing that I'll always be able to look back and kind of appreciate that I did.
That's so badass, man. Well, once again, guys, we want to thank Mason Fowler for joining us. MMAFightPass.com, the Hammerfist Fight Podcast. And hey, brother, we wish you the best. We're going to see you at your tournament, and we hope everything goes good for you, which I'm sure it will. And thank you again for your time, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and hope to see you guys out there. And anyone who's listening right now, hopefully I'll get a chance to see all you guys out there. And thanks, everyone, for supporting.
Yep, we will have a lot of support for that one because this guy's legit. You want to get to a good tournament, a guy that has the tournament experience himself. It's going to be a good tournament, guys. So thank you for tuning in once again. Check out our sponsors, guys, and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mason.
Thank you.